human eyes. It is a human extension of human eyes. The similarities and differences between human eyes and camera. Human eyes can adjust to different light conditions, but camera requires teaching. That's the basic difference. Camera cannot produce true color until and unless we teach white light. What is white light? Or we white balance it. We can keep camera on auto mode, so it can adjust to different light conditions, but you'll find it is different from human eyes, because human eyes can adjust to even smallest difference of light, but even if camera is on auto mode, it can't. That's why when we shoot or when we record, we prefer camera to be operated on manual mode. If we go back to history, the Stone Age of photography, though there are many discoveries that played very important role in the development of photography, but 1800 and onwards, it has taken it has taken basically a particular shape, and the speed of development, the speed of inventions related to photography was really fast. Uh, as we all know that first camera obscura or pinhole cameras were invented in 1950 or 10,000, 1050 AD, and many believe that it is a brainchild of Al Hassan. But in 1100 and 1600, that particular phase, silver halides discovered. In 1568, Daniel Barber describes a diaphragm. Diaphragm is very important. Diaphragm is basically aperture, and it has given again a very important control, the entry of light. So what amount of light would enter in camera is basically decided by diaphragm, that is aperture. And Daniel Barber basically describes diaphragm, not invented. In 1660, so if you look at the development 100 years from 1568 to 1660, composition of white light was discovered. It's a very important discovery. Composition of white light. Earlier, we were not aware about the composition of white light. In 1694, Wilhelm Homburg explained how light darkened some chemicals, photochemical effect. So it's a very important development. Photochemical effect. In 1694, when Wilhelm Homburg explained how light darkened some chemicals. So that particular the nature of light was explained. In 1720, John Henrik Schulz discovered that silver nitrate darkened upon exposure to light. Again, it's a very important development. But the 1800 to 1900, we believe that it's a stone age of photography. A strong confusion over invention of photography remains among the scholars, and it was just because photography wasn't a brainchild of any single person. Different people were working on different lines in order to capture a real life image. So we can't give credit to one person. But there is a person who is very important for the development of photography, Joseph Nicephor Nish, and he is the one who is often considered as the father of photography. This was because he achieved first photographic image with camera obscura in 1840. So we can say that Nicephor Nish is the father of photography just because he was involved in delivering first photographic image. The image he, recorded required 8 hours of light exposure, and after 8 hours of light exposure, it faded also. So the all good work went in vain just because he was not able to. The technology to preserve the image was not discovered then. Then Joseph Nicephornish partnered with Louis Daguerre. He's a well-known person in photography. Louis Daguerre. He's from he was basically from France. And Daguerre, after the death of Nice in 1834, he died. Joseph Nicephornish died in 1834. Daguerre then continued with his experiment and finally discovered process of making image on silver plated copper, which could be made permanent by fixing the exposed plate with some salts. He discovered it. He got it patented in 1837 under the name daguerreotype. So Daguerre basically invented a very important part of the photography. The reflection of image, the technique of reflection of image is known to everybody. Even we can say that when Lord Krishna saw moon and started asking for it, Yashoda Maya, you know, took a plate full of water and showed the image of moon in that water. So the image formation technique was known to ancient people also. They used to see solar eclipse with the help of leaves. But the printing of the image on any other surface is the most important development in photography. Or storing that image. Simply transferring the image on a wall, or showing the image on another wall, or showing the image in uh, you know camera obscura or pinhole camera was not enough. So the scientist who discovered it, that how we can store it, the moment we started storing the images, it became part of our memory. That's why we call it photographs are part of our memory. Why this is part of our memory? Because if we have photographs in different places, say these days we have digital devices, chips, sets, CCD, CMOS, sensors, and storage devices. So you can see your photograph at any place, anywhere, anytime, and you can send it also instantly to any person. And it eliminated the geographical distances. So the photography itself, after the arrival of digital technology, has eliminated the geographic limits. So the photography, if we go by the philosophy of photography, it is basically our memory, part of our memory, and we visit, revisit, cherish our memory every day, and we keep it in different form. In 1834, Henry Fox Talbot also created a permanent, which we call it negative image, using paper soaked in silver chloride and fixed with a salt solution. Talbot created positive image by contact printing onto another sheet of paper. In 1841, Talbot patented his process under the name calotype. So he got it patented, and the patent was in the name of calotype. Biggest advantage, possibility of making multiple copies of an image. This is what I've just said. The biggest advantage of printing an image is that you can keep multiple copies. If one copy is lost, destroyed, you can have another copy. Uh, you know, every invention has two sides. When photography was emerging as an art form, the other art form were feeling the heat of the development of photography. For example, painting. Those who are in painting, are in the profession of painting, they rather hated photography. Like when we introduced machines in, you know, industrial houses or in mills, the laborers protested in the beginning. When we introduced computer, people protested because they had this fear that computer will take their jobs. But the invention in the initial stages, it basically affects the other or the earlier invention or art form. Look at radio. When television started, radio went in dormant condition, but it came back with the help of technology only. So every medium has its ups and downs. So the photography was emerging, and painting was, though painting had a completely different, the audience, but they had this fear that when people will get their real photo, why would they go to a painter to have a, you know, painted copy? And that was costly also, time consuming, costly. When people are getting photographs in just 1 hour, why should I waste my 2 3 days sitting in a particular position and um, not working, and the painter is painting, taking 20, 30, 40 hours. So it affected the earlier profession, and it was seen as a threat to their livelihood. But photography had its own aesthetics and advantages, and now we know that what advantages we have as a photographer. In 1850 and 1860 marked the birth and growth of stereo, stereoscopic era. Stereoscopic era. Direct positive image on glass. It started. We call it embryotypes, and metal, tin types, or ferrotypes came to and it became very popular in USA. By end of 1950s, Wendell Holmes invented the stereoscope views. In 1871, Richard Lee Maddox, an English doctor, proposed the use of an emulsion of gelatin and silver bromide on glass plate. This was termed as dry plate process. Now negative no longer had to be developed immediately. You can make negative later on, or maybe you can keep the negative. So by 1878, dry plates started to be manufactured commercially, and by 1880, George Eastman, he set up Eastman Dry Plate Company in Rochester, New York. See, the inventions were very fast, and in 1884, Eastman invents flexible paper-based photographic film, and by 1888, he patents Kodak roll film camera. And this camera contained a 20-foot roll of paper. 1889, improved Kodak camera with roll of film instead of paper was introduced. 1898, Hannibal Godwin patents celluloid photographic film. The first 3 decades of the 20th century saw the second generation of photography. And this period saw the evolution of the first ever compact cameras as well as the film cameras. In 1900, the first mass marketed camera, Kodak Brownie roll film camera, was introduced. And in 1906, screen aspect ratio of 1.33 to 1, that is 4:3, was established as an international viewing standard. In the same year, panchromatic black and white films became widely available, and therefore high quality color separation is photography was seen. And these were widely marketed by Rattan and Wainwright of England. In 1907, the first commercial color film, it was made of autochrome plates, and it was manufactured by Lumiere Brothers in France. And we know the name of Lumiere Brothers, who were basically behind the film development in the world also. 1895, they screened their first film. In 1896, they screened their films in India also. By 1901, the first waist pocket camera was introduced. The second generation of photography in 1917, Nippon, a company which will eventually became Nikon, was established in Tokyo. 1921, photograms started, and amateur photographers started, making photograms, and photographic paper were exposed to a bulb, and then with the help of hand and through various means, photograms were made, and it became a kind of art form. In 1924, Leeds introduces Lessica, the first high quality 35 mm camera. And apart from that, GE also invented first modern flash bulb in 1927, and that was used for indoor photography. In 1928, Rolleiflex twin lens reflex produced a 6 into 6 centimeter image on Rolleiflex. Then there were, in 1932, Technicolor. The year is known for Technicolor. A three-color system is introduced in which three black and white negatives were made in the same camera under different filters. The same year, George Eastman, aged 77, writes to side note, "My work is done. Why wait?" and shoots himself. The great man. He thought that now everything is over. He has done his part. Unfortunately, he committed suicide. 1934, Fuji Photo Film founded, and 1938, Fuji is making cameras and lenses in addition to film. So, if you look at the development of photography, in 1948, Pentax, a Japanese company, introduced the first automatic diaphragm aperture. In same year, 1948, Nikon also introduced 35 camera. So this history that I have just explained till 1950. In the second uh, lecture, I'll give you information from 1950 onwards, how photography from single lens reflex, twin lens reflex, single lens reflex to digital single lens reflex, and now we have translucent technology where everything is now on your fingertips and you can um, click photographs as beautiful as you can visualize. And apart from that, the photography or the camera that we earlier used for photography is nowadays used for filmmaking also. So the frame rate in camera, photography camera, is giving you option for not only photography but for filmmaking also. Canon 5D, Mark 3, Mark 4, changed and revolutionized the way we were, clicking photographs and making films. I hope that I have given you enough information about, the history and the background of photography. We'll discuss about, the philosophy of, you know, invention, and how one invention gives, you know, threat or basically destroys another or earlier art form. What happened with painting? What happened to painting, and how it basically, overcome and re-establish itself, like radio, which went in dormant condition, but it came back very, effectively in the 21st century. Thank you very much. Hope that you'll find this lecture fruitful, and you'll come back on Bachpan Express YouTube channel for more lectures on different aspects of film, cinema, journalism, and even day-to-day, you know, news and views. Thank you very much.